Bill Gates is coming for Elon Musk's Starlink. Here's how. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of misty morning and focus combination. So good. That zing, the bergamot. So good. So good. Hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a tech day. We're talking about the tech giant, Bill Gates, the billionaire, and Elon Musk, kind of a tech giant, also billionaire. And there's really no love lost between the two of them. And I was reading an article, and it seems that Bill Gates is getting behind a company that is going in direct competition with SpaceX Starlink. I want to talk to you guys about this a little bit and get your thoughts on it. Is this something that is going to be an alternative for us that are in a rural area in the US or anywhere in the world to SpaceX Starlink? Possibly. So before we get into this, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks as of yet, go check them out. Go over to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. Also, if you want to get more Starlink type of coverage, I have about 90 videos, I think now, a bunch of helpful how-tos, tips, tricks, commentary, a lot of good stuff. What to buy, what not to buy, and more importantly, why. That's what this channel is all about, the why behind stuff, not just the how. The how is great, but the why is even more important. Now, what sparked this video is I was reading an article over on Bloomberg Law, and it was kind of interesting, and it talked about a company called Kymeta. That's Kymeta. And this company is that company that is trying to go after SpaceX Starlink. Now, bear in mind, this company, Kymeta, is funded by Bill Gates. All right. This is how he gets into the mix here. And I think that the company just smelled blood in the water when Elon Musk said that he couldn't fund these tens of thousands of Starlink terminals over there in the Ukraine in perpetuity. Just can't do it. It costs too much money. I think he was stating it was going to be over $120 million out of his pocket, out of SpaceX's pocket, just for 2022, for the rest of the year. That is a lot of money. Just hand it out. And like I said in my last video yesterday, I was saying how I think that not our government should pick up the tab, but I think that the Ukrainian government should pick up the tab. Because if they want a service and it seems to be helpful or useful, well, you need to pay for it, right? Just like if I went and bought something, I'm going to pay for it. If someone gives it to me to test out and I don't like it, I'll give it back and say, no, that's it. But if they give me something to test out and it actually works, well, I'm going to have to pay for it, right? It's same with this. So I don't know what's going to end up happening with that. But as of today, Elon Musk said, listen, whatever, I'm just going to keep on paying for this right now and we'll see how it goes. All right. Other companies are getting billions of dollars from the government. I'm getting nothing. I get it. It's kind of sad, but that's how it works. You know, the government, there's a lot of entities that really don't like Elon Musk, which is really strange to me because he's been doing a lot of good things. I mean, you can always look at the bad in everything that is being done, but he's been doing a lot of good things. I mean, just in the war itself, by dropping off 48 hours after the war started, I think it was like 2,000 or 3,000 terminals, 5,000 terminals or something, literally in 48 hours when the president asked for them from the Ukraine. Now, once again, this Bloomberg Law article sparked this video, and it stated at the very top, Musk has threatened to cut off financial support for Starlink service in Ukraine, an essential communication tool to combat Russia's invasion. The Defense Department, meanwhile, confirmed it's looking for other SATCOMs to do business with. One competitor to Starlink is Kymeta, a Bill Gates funded company. So Kymeta's chief developmental officer, Bill Marks, now he's spoken about in this article a lot. He has said that Musk's threat to cut off service to Ukraine is egregious, is what he states. It's egregious. Even though this service was just given freely as a humanitarian aid for a period of time which was unstated. By him cutting it off, it would be egregious. It'd just be absolutely horrible. He also added, I'm sure there's blood on his hands for that. Of course, we're now going to have to pick up and build up Kymeta as being that competitor because SpaceX Starlink and the CEO are bad, very bad. Marks also said that Kymeta currently works with the DoD, which is the Department of Defense, and is in talks with other NATO countries about its antenna that held up in various ground conflicts over the last 2 years. So they've been using this. The DoD has been using Kymeta over the last couple of years, and it's been doing quite well, according to Kymeta. Now, according to a message aimed directly at the Pentagon from Kymeta, it seems that the company is trying to position itself as a better or more reliable alternative SATCOM provider compared to Starlink. Now, once again, there is absolutely no love lost between Elon Musk and Bill Gates. Bill Gates would absolutely love to see nothing more than Elon Musk fail or SpaceX Starlink fail, and one of his own companies or a funded company moves into his spot, knocks them out, let's say. And you know how it is between billionaires? Not when we're just struggling, right, to get by, and food is like double of what it used to be, and gas prices are double and everything else. It reminds me of the Eddie Murphy movie. What was it, Trading Places, where Winthorpe and the other guy, I don't know, they make a $1 bet, and just to see how they can twist this guy, right? And that is just what happens with these billionaires a lot of times. They do things not the way we would do things, right? They do things, I would say, a little bit spitefully sometimes because they can, right? So this is kind of interesting and scary. I was reading through the article and there was one thing that popped up which really had me thinking. It said a 2021 policy paper from an aerospace industry think tank said SATCOM services could become, quote, the backbone of DoD's network. They are destined to become part of the Pentagon's wide Joint All-Domain Command and Control, or the JADC2, to connect sensors and communication across all branches of the military. It reminds me of the Whopper guys, right? Where you get everything and you just take all those sensors, everything, you centralize it into one spot. Yeesh. You remember what happened with war games?
These computers give us instant access to the state of the world, troop movements, Soviet missile tests, shifting weather patterns. It all flows into this room and then into what we call the Whopper computer.
The Whopper spends all its time thinking about World War III.
Let's hope that doesn't happen for real. Anyways, Bill Marks from Kymeta also states, quote, the reason the U.S. military likes our technology is that if you were an adversary and you do something to compromise one of the satellites, our antenna will switch to another satellite. And it does it all in less than a second. The soldiers would have never lost connectivity. Putting a dig in for Elon shutting off SpaceX Starlink for a period of time, right? The military agency that Kymeta has spoken with want flexibility, redundancy, and security. Marks tells them that Kymeta is modular. It can hook up with low Earth orbit and geosynchronous satellites and cellular networks. He makes a point of noting that Starlink works as a single network system. He also was quoted in saying that, quote, the biggest difference between our terminals and Starlink terminals, besides the fact that we would never shut them off, is our terminals work on the move. What is with this guy, right? It just reminds me of Matthew. Who is it? 7:3 or something that says something like, you know, why do you notice the speck in your brother's eye, but yet not the log in your own? You know, it's like, what are you talking about? These are like half truths, you know, just a lot of this stuff is incorrect. Number one, Starlink does switch from satellite to satellite based on which satellites are in operational distance, right? And if a satellite goes down, it'll pick up another satellite as it's flying by. So yes, it does work and it does auto switch, just like Kymeta's would auto switch. And The other thing was number two, SpaceX Starlink only uses one network. Well, kind of, sort of, as of a few months ago. Well, now SpaceX Starlink and T-Mobile are in bed together. And what is said is that backhauling is going to occur between the two companies. What that means is now SpaceX Starlink, as well as T-Mobile, will be working together to backhaul the data from LEO, or low Earth orbiting satellites, and the terrestrial ground stations, let's call them, or as we would see them around town, those cell towers. So kind of, sort of, no, it used to be a single network. Now it's a dual network, let's say, that's being backhauled both satellite and terrestrial through T-Mobile's network globally. So that's another thing that's false that was just stated to the Pentagon during this plea, let's say, for money or to get business. Number three, SpaceX does work on moving vehicles. He was saying that no, there's work in moving vehicles and SpaceX Starlink doesn't. This guy's been under a rock for some time. We know SpaceX Starlink, originally you can't move around with it because it wouldn't track. Well, now they have trackable. SpaceX Starlink also has a marine base or a maritime version of the kit that you just hook up to a boat. And of course it's tracking continuously. And as of a couple of days ago, now they have them for planes. So they have an aviation version of it for some major cha-chang. So once again, obviously the company is seeing the blood in the water with Elon pulling out, quote unquote, pulling out by shutting down his systems. As of now, he turned them all back on. So everything is working, but they saw an opportunity and now they're trying to make some money out of it. Now, also in the article, it says that Kymeta has classified and unclassified contracts with several Pentagon departments and civilian agencies. The federal government has reported more than $6.6 million in unclassified contracts with the company. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot more classified contracts. So who knows how much money Kymeta is getting out of the government. These companies love government money. Love it. Now, also, the DoD, or the Department of Defense, did make it crystal clear. And I even reported on this as of yesterday, where they said that we have not paid a single dime to SpaceX Starlink for service in Ukraine. And they haven't. Whereas we're seeing, like Kymeta, who knows what they're doing, but they're getting a ton of money from the government. And like I said, these companies just absolutely love that. This is what they do. They work all year round to try to get contracts with the government, because government just gives money just freely. And if they get a really good contract with the government, that can set them up for 5 years, 10 years, who knows? That's why we have $5,000 hammers that the government buys, right? Now, another part of this article stated something like, Kymeta announced a broadband partnership with OneWeb, a low Earth orbit satellite network. Now, I've talked about this in the past. The LEO terminals is set to launch in 2023. That means that they might have, I don't know if it's commercial, but it may even be residential terminals in 2023. So if Kymeta does provide public antennas, we might see Kymeta as a direct replacement here in rural America for SpaceX Starlink. How good would it be? I don't know. But they're stating in 2023 it's going to happen with a joint venture with OneWeb. Now, if you don't know, OneWeb is that company that I reported on probably a few months ago that earlier this year, they had Russia launch their LEO satellites into orbit, right? And they had about 36 of them in Russia that were ready to be launched. And Russia said, we're not going to do this. We're going to keep your money and we're going to keep your satellites. How about that? And just seized the satellites. And that was it. If you don't know, OneWeb is a company that's I think it's out of India, but it has some other companies built into it out of France. It's like a multi-country, multi-company monstrosity. Okay, OneWeb is. So anyways, OneWeb lost $230 million in satellites and cha-chang that was given to the Russian government to launch those satellites into LEO, and it just didn't happen. So what did OneWeb do? And this is what I've reported on. This was a couple of months ago. OneWeb reached out to SpaceX Starlink, to Elon Musk, and said, we really need a rideshare. We need an Uber into orbit. Can you do anything for us? And Elon probably thought about it a little bit. This is a competitor. Should we do it? Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do it. So they said, yeah. And a deal was put together between SpaceX Starlink and OneWeb that will launch some of these satellites into orbit fourth quarter of this year. So coming up in the next couple of months. Right now, OneWeb has just over 400 satellites, I think, in orbit, and they're looking at about 650 is what they want to see in their constellation. So like I've reiterated a few times in this video, Bill Gates would absolutely love to be a part of a company that takes down or beats or one betters Elon Musk's SpaceX Starlink. Absolutely. But could it happen? Now, I was researching this a little bit. I'm like, why is there like this bad blood? There's always seems to be like bad blood between millionaires and billionaires, specifically billionaires, right? They just hate each other. I don't know why. Maybe they're just all trying to become billionaire number one. I don't even know. I really don't know. But what I found out was after Bill Gates went public and stated that he was aggressively shorting Tesla, Elon Musk said, I'm kind of done with you. I thought you were this guy that wanted to save the planet and no fossil fuels and alternative energies and all this stuff, and you're shorting my company? Right? So after that, there was some tweets that went back and forth between Billy the Kid over there and Elon, and they weren't nice. They were kind of nice. Bill Gates is one of those people that are passive aggressive. They're not like in your face. They're kind of like a pansy, right? That kind of like just squirrely kind of dude, right? So he's definitely that passive aggressive guy. And that's exactly how some of these tweets came across. So that's why I would think Bill Gates would be really excited about owning part or funding this chimera, because it is getting close to being able to be a competitor with SpaceX Starlink. But the way I look at it too is even if OneWeb has 600 satellites up there and Chimera has a few, whatever, it's never going to be able to match the breakneck speed in which SpaceX Starlink satellites are being launched into orbit. I mean, these damn things are being launched up there like sometimes 100 in a week. It is craziness. And the thing that has done it is by having these Falcon 9 rockets be able to be returned to the planet in the ocean through an autonomous type of boat, let's call it, to bring those things back and within a few hours or a few days be able to launch them back up. It's not like a one-time use type of thing. They're constantly using these rockets. I think that's awesome. Also, when we see Starship on track to be able to launch these massive version 2 satellites for Starlink into orbit, what I call, let's call them NOCs or Network Operations Centers in the sky, I think things are going to turn around quickly for SpaceX Starlink. All right. It's going to get really good, really fast because of how much data these things can transact. It's going to be amazing. And instead of having to use all of these ground stations to do so, a lot of that transacting is going to be happening inter-satellite, from satellite to satellite through lasers at the speed of light. So I want to know what you think. Do you think Bill Gates funded Chimera is going to be an actual competitor to SpaceX Starlink? Is this something that we're going to see next year, that we can actually buy a terminal and use that as an alternative to SpaceX Starlink? And if that is the case, will it be viable? Will it be good? Will it be fast? What would the latency be like? Anyways, guys, I want to know your thoughts down in the comment area. Let's have this discussion. I love this stuff. I hope you do too. If you want more of it, like I said before, go check out my Starlink playlist. There's a lot more there, like 90. We're getting close to 100 videos probably in there. A lot of stuff to watch and learn. So anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this, even if you have a little bit. Please throw this video a thumbs up. That would be awesome. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you are subscribed, click this little button over here. So when I go live or when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately. And finally, Head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.